Good morning, everyone. My name is Judy Blake, and I am the Leadership and Advocacy Coordinator for Family to Family Network in Houston, Texas. We are so excited to have another Wednesday training, and I want to first introduce my friend, my colleague, my right hand, Christina Savala.
Thank you, Judy. Welcome,
We love
everybody.
Christina. She helps me in ways that I am so grateful for.
What can I say? From
Yes.
Judy. Well,
Thank you. Thank you. So today is really a wonderful presenter that I was thrilled when she said she would be available. I want to introduce Gayle Fisher. And Gayle wears many hats in the community. She's an amazing mom. She is an incredible colleague. I can call her and ask for her suggestions. She is involved in the community in so many ways. And today, Gayle is going to talk about the emergency game, ways for our children to avoid, or our adults as well, to avoid any type of entrapment and to make them more aware. And I must tell you, Gayle, I'm so thrilled you're here because it's really a topic that is near and dear to me. I'm very open about my 26-year-old son, Ryan, who has autism and other co-occurring disabilities, and the impulsiveness, the anxiety. So you can practice something over and over again, but when the moment comes, everything is forgotten. And I'm sure you can relate to that only too well. So we are very excited to have you, Gayle. Thank you so much for joining us. Gayle Fisher, everyone.
Oh, well, thank you, Judy. Thank you all. Yeah, that impulse control is a huge thing. We had a little bit of that this morning. I was telling a story before we started about as simple an idea as just missing the school bus. Mom slept through the alarm. So did John. We missed the alarm. We missed the bus. We were in, red alert. And it was a lot of the same kind of thing. So these ideas are what we practice. Will they work in your home? Not sure. Do I hope you think about them and check with your family and talk amongst yourselves? Yes, absolutely. If you want to ask any questions, feel free to. Our time will go pretty fast. I do know that. Judy's recording it. I'm glad to talk later. I don't have to run away at a time. We could talk again anytime you wish. So let me go ahead and share this full screen. I don't like the fact that I don't get to see you. That makes me sad. But there we go. Okay, so a little bit of information there. So it's not all, yes, there's tasers. Yes, there's handcuffs. Yes, there's, oh my God, it's not a taser, it's my gun. But also grocery store. I got lost in the grocery store, or a kid staying in the bathroom too long, or a lot of things, right? That, so when we look at a variety of ages, a variety of abilities, and we want to always frame things in a positive way for our kids, because if the teachable moment comes at a calm, teachable state, then their vagus nervous system will be able to absorb better, right? And Judy was just saying that, yeah, you can practice and practice, but wow, when the emotion and the adrenaline and the chemicals hit, right? If it's not really deeply entrenched in the kiddo's neural pathways, then they won't be thinking. It's not a cognitive thinking process at the time, right? Panic is not thinking. Okay, so we hope we don't have panic, but this is just some things, and humor. I try to put a lot of humor in this. So I've got a quote down here at the bottom. If y'all remember Rosanna Dana from Saturday Night Live, right? It's always something, right? So what is it that can keep our kids off guard, keep us off guard, catch us by surprise? We're going to try to take something that sounds simple, but it's really very complex because of all of our sensory and diagnoses and epigenetic complexities that we have with our kids and our families and our society and the mental health. I mean, right, is comorbidity is everywhere, but try to make it maybe a little bit more elegant and simple. Also, the reason this circle is here, this wheel, is that all of these emotions are real and they need to be felt and heard and absorbed. But usually the layer of the onion that's underneath is fear. So fear causes a lot of things that are unintentional, but real in their natural consequences. So I started making this a formal teaching workshop when this kettling stuff, when, the protests and so if y'all were following some of this, and we're not going to get into politics, I don't mean that, but just being in the wrong place at the wrong time without that intention, so accidentally being in the wrong place at the wrong time, can be catastrophic, right?
That's interesting, Gail. I've never heard that term, kettling.
So here's a link, and here's the story. And it's what happened. What they did was they would try to entrap the protesters and then go in and do their nasty business. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. I'm just saying it's a trap. So they kettle them. It's like they wait until curfew is just barely over, and then they position themselves so that you can't escape. And now you're going to head to jail, or you're going to get tasered, handcuffed, or gassed or something. And this was when we had really bad stuff going on. Okay. So we're not going to, I just want you to understand this has happened. Here's some pictures. I don't know how many of these adults here would be like our young people, but I bet half of them at least are neurotypical, and they got captured, right? So in sharing this today, we have some real life examples of the emergency game already, right? Stop, drop, and roll, right? Trying to teach our kids that. What happens if there's a fire alarm, or if there's a fire truck? If there's a fire truck going down the street and we're driving together, and I'm having John practice co-piloting, right? Helping me with the navigation, the phone's up there, we're watching the signs, just trying to be aware of where he is. He wants to drive. So I'll say, hey, what is that? Is that a fire engine? Is that an ambulance? Is that a police? What is that? And what do you think's happening? So I want him to kind of pick up on, everybody's starting to pull over. Well, is that good or bad, right? Because you don't want to have an accident while you're pulling over, and then everybody's in a big hurry to get back out if you've pulled over. So the opportunity to practice where everything is, and unintended consequences, unexpected behaviors of people are everywhere. And it's not just when it starts, it's while it's rolling, and then it's when it's coming back to normal, whatever normal is. So when I say here yelling fire, I want to remind us that if we were walking down a dark alley, or we're teaching our kids, if they're walking down a dark alley and they would like to draw attention to themselves, the articles I've read say, never yell help, because that's going to make everybody run that away. But if we yell fire, then everybody comes. So that's something to consider depending on the situation. So we're adding complexity to how we need to train our kids. Amber alerts on the telephone, silver alerts on the telephone. We'll practice. I'll say, is that a real emergency, John, or is that a pretend emergency? And who is having the emergency? So we'll talk about all these things as they happen, instead of just disregarding it and shutting the phone off and saying, oh man, those alarms. When all of the, they have those broadcasts and the TV goes really loud and blaring, what's that? Or when in the old days, the TV camera would go off and you'd get all that graininess in the TV, that just means it's not a real emergency. It looks like an emergency. It just means the camera's not working. Oh, that's a pretend emergency. And for who? So I want to have that conversation with him. Maybe you would with your kids. Whenever we go anywhere, I always want him to know how to find his way home. He wandered off once as a child, that whole lost thing. But since that time, if we go out somewhere in the car, then I'll make sure I let him lead coming back from anywhere. I'll step back a step or two and I'll let him be the leader. Yeah, we're going slower than I want, right? But too bad, Mom, to let our kids get practice in leading, get practice in where we got to go, a left turn, right turn, which way did I go? Retraining, refining that trail of breadcrumbs that they left, right? Once they get around to driving, let's say they might be in a texting and not supposed to be texting situation, or too loud of a radio in the car. Maybe it's not drugs and alcohol, it's just music and texting, or friends talking. And all it takes, Tiger Woods has had his last 2 car accidents with no alcohol, just speed and not paying attention, right? And he's in a bad shape now. So in working with our kids, these opportunities are everywhere, but we just disregard them because we don't think of them as teachable moments. We think of them as, I don't know, just distractions or loud noises. And I want to train our kids to always tell the truth, right? Show me your hands, tell me the truth. Don't run away. These are impulse control concepts. So always tell the truth, because if they get into a situation with the law enforcement or a first responder And Judy and I are both doing all we can in that world of helping first responders know our world. So, but we have each a responsibility. We have two sides of the table that have to come together and work together. So I'm trying my best to help train our kids so that they can be ready to meet those bad situations. Show your hands. Why? Well, because that means these are the dangerous things. These are the most dangerous tools that my cop friends say. Show them your hands. So John, if you get in a situation like this, show them your hands. Don't run, stand still, right? All of us work with that kid wandering off thing, right? John, come back here. You can't wander off. And maybe he's trying to blow me off or whatever's going on in his mind, but wandering off will never work at school and socialization in the community, at work. Can't wander off. You come back here. We're going to do this right. I'll wait here until you come back. So I've done a lot of blogs and podcasts on early childhood versions of this, and it's on the website and you can have it. It's all for free there. Now our kids are getting a little older and the stakes are higher, right? Same concept, pay attention, don't run, stand here, let's joint attention, right? We want to talk through this together. For him to say his name and then to state what is, if he needs help. So we work on these, and this is a graphic. You can have all these graphics, fine with me. You can have these simple to share with your kids to practice, right? That teachable moment when they're ready to absorb, you can't build that neural pathway strong enough. Okay, so yes, they're being trained to better understand you, our kids, but we have a responsibility to, that's what this is all about. And I've presented this to first responders to let them know, hey, it's not all on your heads, it's on our heads too. It's on our kids. They need to be able to accept this. Would love to have you all come and participate when this, not a taser, it's a gun. Oh, no, it's a taser. When this thing happened just in Minnesota, I thought, man, it's time to get rolling with the next one of these first responder supports. It's on Zoom now. There's a link, there's websites. I've made videos. We have photographs. We have a really good repartee. They're sharing, each of the teams come in and they present their 5 minutes of what their team is doing, and then they cross-pollinate and they network. But the community comes and parents can come and you can present your side of it. We just keep it positive. This is not a complaint session, right? And I'm shamelessly hustling anytime I meet any kind of a first responder. I'm getting their email and I'm soliciting them. So
Gayle,
yes.
There was a question in the chat box. Kathy had asked, what's the website again to join that meeting? Is it the
for the first responders?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a link right there. I post in Facebook, and if you go to Getting Sorted, and there's a chunk there that says first responder. So it's actually at gettingsorted.com. Click on first responder supports.
Okay, and I can send the slides to people. Anybody who emails me, just let me know, and Gayle will share her slides.
Yeah, we love to have the whole community come. So, and I've this emergency game I've actually written. So here's the AMAB, and I wrote on an article on that just to share, and I have a blog post on it, or several too. So this is just to kind of give you a little bit more of a background of how strongly I think this is needed and different ways that we've tried to share. Let's talk about neural pathways just for a minute. So if a child is first born, usually not our kids, right? But as a neurotypical child, they prune down pretty quick. So you see that top drawing. But what has happened with many of our children, my son also, is that the variations of the neural pathways, of the choices, of the way that the electrical and chemical data is sent throughout the system, there's a lot of variation to that. So less predictability, right? And what do first responders want? They want you to do what they tell them to do. They want predictability, right? Show me your hands, stand still. Well, we want to we want to do everything we can to calm the situation. So stop moving, show me your hands, tell me what you need. Now that might sound like we're giving in, and I don't mean it that way. We're just trying to get everybody calm and quiet so we can listen to each other. Because if they're in red alert and we're in red alert, if the whole world's in red alert, nobody's listening. Nobody. It's not going anywhere. So we want to do all we can, and we all know the importance of neural pathways. We want to prune those variations down to something that's a lot more predictable and acceptable and accepted in the world. Okay, here's some homework assignments if you want. Fascinating stuff, the neural pathways. So our kids could be either sensory seeking or sensory averse. Mine is both, right? And when I talk to first responders, I know I don't need this for you all, right? But I talk to them about the sensory and the five that everybody knows about, and then the vestibular and the proprioceptive and the tactile, and then interoception, which means it's kind of like the mindful version. So if a young person has interoception, that means that they can kind of be mindful. They can kind of start to feel, I'm about to blow a cork. I'm about to have a hissy. I need to go find a fidget. I need to self-regulate. I need to calm down. I need to breathe, right? Pinwheels are good for that. We get into the vagus nervous system. You breathe, long breath. So blowing on a pinwheel, catch your breath, actually triggers important things inside the brain. But moving on, right? Because y'all don't need this kind of stuff. My kid is both. So he is sensory averse to an ice cream cone. I practically got to cram it in his mouth. I'm going to teach him how to eat an ice cream cone if it kills me. But he'll sit out in Galveston Bay in the dark with that nasty old water coming like right up his nostrils. So our kids will vary on their ability to absorb. So I appreciate that. We all know that. I'm preaching to the choir here. Okay. So is it real? Is it pretend? What else? Gangs, wrong friends. These are all nightmare situations for us, right? The older our kids get, they want to release from us. That's the brain is wired to want to reject mom, reject dad, to go out and find their own way. But we don't want such a pendulum swing that they just flee, and then they catch on with gangs, the wrong people, the wrong friends, and now all of a sudden that's their litmus test for what is appropriate behavior or not, right? So all of this is in moderation, is in balance, is in thinking, why is this happening? What's going on? Why are they doing what they're doing, right? So if I'm trying to tell John how to get along at school, it's like, you want to watch the teacher and match the girls. So, and then I posted about, it was a time we went to Home Depot, and John lingered in the bathroom, and then the guy went in and said, your mom just drove away in the parking lot. And I said, no, that's not what I said. I said, just tell him his mom's going to go up to the cashier. But the guy goes in there and says, hey, John, your mom just drove away. And so I thought, all right, I didn't think anything bad. I went up, I checked out, I just stood there, I waited and waited. And pretty soon the manager came over and said, can we help you? I said, yeah, a little boy, blue shirt, waiting for him. He said, oh, I saw him like running across the parking lot. And I go, out I go. And I'm saying, oh, please, dear God, no broken bones, no dead body, please. I get out there and John's standing there by the car, doing exactly what he should be doing, waiting for mom. Like, where are you, mom? Here's the car. And I said, oh my gosh, John, I am so sorry that you thought I would drive away. I will never drive away. All right. And we had a conversation, and I had a conversation with Mr. Home Depot too. But I decided, okay, we're going to turn this into a game. So it's called the go find mom in the grocery store game, or go out to the mall and come back in 15 minutes and find me here game. So we're trying to gamify. Because, well, that's what you do if you're going to try to keep things lighthearted and humorous. So you can still think. If you can keep your sense of humor, you can still think, right? If you're panicking, are you thinking? No. SEER school. So if anybody has military background, my first husband had a SEER badge. They have real life situations, drowning, some simulated drowning, G.I. Jane, if you remember that movie, some of the things that they show in that training: survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. And it's a 3-day class, 3-day immersion. They put you in a coffin. They make you stand hunched over. It's really serious stuff. Not what we want to do for our kids, but the military practices the same kind of thing. Diplomats practice this kind of thing if they would ever to be kidnapped, right? We're not doing that for our kids, but it gets done. It's best practices out there in the world. Okay.
Gayle, we had another question.
Yeah.
A mom wrote, it for our kids with autism who, you can't tell that they have autism by looking at them. They look typical. How are police officers trained to identify the condition?
So they're getting more savvy with behaviors. And they understand that coming at them isn't always, it can be an act of a kid just wanting to give the police officer a hug. They understand that. It's hard for them because once the interloper gets within 10, 15 feet, they're already in red alert. They've been trained to be in red alert. So they have to really hold their breath, right? They're looking for, sometimes there's a few physical characteristics, and we're going to get to that just in a second. But sometimes it's the, they're trying to pick up on the nuances. And they know sometimes with the running away. So sometimes you can see it physically, sometimes you can see it by behavior. And they're also being trained by mental health experts who don't have the uniform gun mindset. They have the let's listen and hear and absorb the therapy side. So they'll have ride-alongs. So they'll often have a uniform, and they'll have a therapist doing a ride-along together. In those cases, it's more for mental health cases, different than say an adult that doesn't present like autism, but is. And they're having ever more programs, municipalities with apps, right? So each county seems to have their own app. Harris County has got Project Guardian, and another one, two that they're working with. Katie's just got the same one. Montgomery County has Smart 911, and there's also some kind of a Smart 911 that's just on the dispatch stuff. So what we have is a quilt. We don't have any standardizations, and these and the municipalities, the police, the sheriff's departments, the HPDs, all those guys, they're not going to standardize. They're going to have their own world, and so we do have to learn where's our kid, what do they have within that system that's going to help identify. There could be a lanyard, but that also can be targeting. There could be a bumper sticker, but that also could be targeting. So I've not given you a good, happy answer, have I? It's a mixed bag, but they're aware, all right? And I'm sure they're ever more aware after last night, Minneapolis, I'm sure, okay? So another thing that we can do with our kids in that humor, let me back up. So when I say it doesn't sound like an emergency to me, Mom, we practice. So John might be upstairs and he's not listening to me when I'm asking him. So I decide, okay, babe, I just yell, emergency. And he comes running over and looks down the stairs and he says, what? And I said, it's an emergency. Come here fast. So he comes down, he says, doesn't look like an emergency to me. And I said, I know, we're just practicing. But then I want to also tell him about crying wolf. So there's crying wolf, right? The Aesop's fable. So we want to teach our kids crying wolf compared to practice. And how do we get the message across to whoever we're trying to get it to? Again, complexity, right? But good to talk about, good to practice. Other clues, so it's kind of back to that mom question that we just had, is on both sides of the table, humor. And so here, this is, you guys have all seen Sheldon, right? What's the name of that movie?
Big Bang Theory.
There we go. I love that show, right? Sheldon is our hero. And so here's Leonard, right? So here's Sheldon hacking off Penny. So Penny's about ready to rip on him. And so, I forgot the guy in the red.
Leonard,
thank you. Leonard saying, signal, it's sarcasm. And Sheldon's getting all excited. Oh, you mean there's signs that tell me when someone's, reading the social cues, right? So this would be a conversation you could have with your kiddo, your large kiddo, depending on how tall they are, right? Is, okay, so how do you know if someone's unhappy with you or if someone's unhappy in general? Maybe they're unhappy with what just happened. Not you, nothing to do with you. You're just walking down the street. But the social cues from someone, if they're angry, hacked off, they're about to blow, they're sad, they're the whole range of emotions. How do we help our kids when their brain's not connected that way automatically? We have to train them. How do they absorb social cues and signals? It takes practice. So this is a funny way of just starting that conversation. Mr. Bean is another example. Now, John's starting to channel Mr. Bean, right? And we've all seen him in movies, right? But have you ever heard his voice? Not much. So we are back now to the magic of joint attention. So when we're talking with our kids, we have about our kids, amongst our kids, in the community of our village, right? We have receptive language. I got your words. I caught them in a bucket. All right, awesome. I got your words. Auditory processing. Oh, you want me to do something with your words. You need my brain to do something with your words. And then expressive language, you're waiting for a sentence from me. Uh-oh, you're waiting for a sentence. And if they don't have expressive language, then behavior as an alternate assessment, right? Whether you're talking about the school district or whether you're talking about law enforcement or you're talking about worship or the grocery store, there's a certain kind of expectation of give and take. Now, I've got a neurotypical and a non-neurotypical under my roof right now. And I swear that neither one of them answer when I say something, and I'm standing there waiting for an answer back. So I'm not going to just say, oh, well, never mind. I'm going to force the issue and I'll stand there or I'll repeat it. I want them to learn as a neural pathway, as a habit, as just a social courtesy. If someone says something to you, at least go like that, right? Some kind of, yeah, I got the message and here we go. I'm continuing with you. So a little bit of that ping pong ball, some kind of. So even at the intention of joint attention, right? The intent to communicate, the intention with our kids. Now, we all know that it can be nonverbal body language. So if I went, I'll get it. Or if I go, I change my body, right, to turn toward you, I might go, automatopoeia, I might express an emotion. I don't necessarily have to give you a beautiful paragraph for you to know that I got what you just told me and I'm doing my best, right? So we want to do this with our kids. 80% of communication is what? Body language, right? Okay. Very sad situation. This link will take you to way more information than you want. Collateral damage everywhere. This is an older man driving. When they get behind the wheel, oh dear God, it's a whole new template of catastrophic possibilities. Okay, so this young man here has echolalia. So he's just repeating back, but he got panicked and scared and crashed the car. And then the cops came in and then it just went on and on and on. And now he's in jail and he can't get out. It's a long, sad story. I know some other friends, similar. They end up in jail because they got outside of their ability to cope when all of a sudden something bad happened with the car. Maybe these self-driving cars are a blessing in many different directions. That could easily be the way our kids get around. But you also could say in a boating situation or shopping or separated from you, the idea is here's somebody that got in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they are still in the wrong place. They are still in prison. And that's not what we want for you, sweetheart. So let's talk about this. Let's practice. Let's have a game plan. Let's rehearse. Okay. So I already did this with you all. We talked about that. So calming, how can we help our young people, our families our kids learn to calm? And I don't mean kids like 2 years old, right? I just mean the ones we love, why we're here today. So breathing helps. The vagus nervous system is just like this when they're stressed. Deep breaths out and in. I said pinwheel, it's a real thing. Deep breaths help to calm the vagus nervous system. As fast as I have been talking, because time goes by, you might not have been able to absorb everything, and I was probably talking too fast, and I do truly apologize for that. I slow down. You're calmer, I'm calmer. You can hear better. Works for everybody. Music can be an awesome help tranquilizer. But if they're wearing headphones, right? Noise canceling headphones. So you have to, some young man said, well, I might have to take them off to hear what you're saying. So it's kind of a not perfect situation. Maybe those little foam earplugs, because you can still hear through them. It just kind of dampens it a bit. So headphones are not the be all, but it is a way to help calm. Here's some links to the vagus nervous system. Here's what I was talking about. You can make them and they can carry them. There some way, whatever pocket fidget you want to have for or a piece of just something that they carry on their person so that their go-to if they get panicked and you're not there to help them, which we hope is an ever increasing number of circumstances, right? Because we all know how long you're going to live. Not forever. And so how do I help my child become ever more independent by fading my prompt short of broken bones, short of dying, right? Short of bleeding to death, how can I let him step into his purpose, his empowerment, his decisions, his unintended consequences, his natural consequences? Maybe we talk about it later, right? I hope for a debrief, but he has to learn how to calm himself with supports. I can't always be there. We all know this, right? This is what haunts us. So here's more information about where the whole concept of vagus nervous system and where it gets its name. And it's great. I think it's the science of it. To me, it's fascinating. So I wanted to share that with you. Deep breathing, good sleep, all help. Okay. Music, effects on the brain. This slide will take you to a lot more information. It's the best one I have found as far as the different parts of the brain that link together and how they either do or do not work together in synchronous. You know, do they listen to each other? Okay. You all have any questions? I know I'm going fast. I've got by my clock 24 minutes left.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. Because yeah, we want to leave about 10 minutes or so for questions.
Okay.
One mom brought up a really good point, and I realize you know this already, that now when you have a Texas state ID or a driver's license, on the back, it will say communication impediment. And that can help police officers as well to identify if there is something that's not visible to them. But I know sometimes until you get to that point where they ask for your ID, but it is very, very helpful.
You can actually get those IDs before they're 21, and
Yes.
there's a form on the Texas Department website that you need to take to your doctor to get your doctor to complete it when you go and get it completed. So, and unfortunately, it's not on the front, which I don't understand, but that's an argument for another day. I only pray that every officer turns it around and looks at it, but there's a process to getting that on there. Those forms are on the Texas Department of Public Safety website to take to your doctor. It's very good and you can get their IDs before they're 18, before they're 21, so that they still have an ID if they're on a field trip or something like that. Tyler has his, but it's in my purse, not like it's doing him any good. But yeah, it is a good little tool to have.
Thank
So
you, Kathy. And
yeah.
then Olga had asked, is there a way we can pre-register our kids with the local EMS services?
Yes. So by your county, Olga, I think down there it's Project Guardian. And there's, we can talk later about that, but yeah, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, HPD, they're all using that same app. I wish they all standardized, but they don't. So we're making progress, but they're all outsourced programs. And none of the people that have the databases are willing to firewall release so that we can have just one consistency. So
in here in LaPorte, where we live, we can actually, we have some forms that we can fill out at our local police department and places for pictures. And as I'm saying this, I need to remind myself to go update a picture and update the form. But you can also check with your local police department, not just the county, to see if you can register if they have a form there locally in case you need to, because obviously they're the ones you call first. And so I know we have that here in LaPorte. We also have a container that we keep in the refrigerator with a sticker on the door that says that there's like a person in here, and they know to go to the refrigerator to take out this container to look for their medical information and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great. What I'm hoping we're talking about today is outside of that box, because that's all well and good, but we got to get them to that point, right? And it's usually where the rubber meets the road is prior to all of those things. So those are all great things. Definitely do that. We try to share all those tools with, with our first responder stuff. They come in and they talk about it. And but we also need to talk with our kids. It's not enough to just say there's a card somewhere that I'm sure they'll let you get out, but it's this act that could put them down because they don't know what that means, right? So, all right, I'm going to move on because time's going by really fast, and I got some more things I want to share with you guys. So, to try to help our kids learn how to walk in other people's shoes, this is very difficult, right? And maybe it's a literal thing. I don't know. We know how literal our kids can be, but maybe that's a teachable moment for them. If they were to wear a pair of boots and they need to be the one that's worried, they need to be the first responder of sorts. And I'm not saying it has to be a uniform. I'm just saying that maybe they're the ones that are trying to respond to the situation, and they could gain an understanding of what's on the other side of the experience. So it's something to try. This is a card I made and gave a lot away in the old days when I had to attend to the teachable moment, which is the most important thing we're doing, right? How do we handle the bystander? So this was useful. I made a whole pile of them. I still have a few. I gave them away freely. We want to train. So our job is also training them at the same time we're training our kids, at the same time we're training everybody to keep coming toward the center. And yes, that's great about the apps, but you know what? I don't think she was thinking apps yesterday when she pulled out that thought she thought was her taser, but it was her gun. I mean, we didn't get to that point yet, right? So what we're talking about is when the heat's on. That's the part that I want us to really keep in our heart and soul right now. Okay, so lots of groups to do that are all also trying to do the same kind of thing, from the mental health piece, from the don't kill yourself piece, from the be part of the community piece. Now let's switch to a couple of humorous tools, perhaps, right? So I'm not sure if this would work in your house, but music is soothing and you can watch these things on YouTube, and our kids want to be of this world. I know my John wants to be in this one world with us. And so if our kids felt that they were over here somewhere else, not part of this world, we don't want them feeling alienated in any way. So maybe some kind of this works out where you could do and this is silly, I get that, but some kind of some song, and I don't even know what it would be. Mac the Knife, I don't know, but you sing it and then they sing it and you kind of pantomime some things. Do you remember the Hannah Montana show when she did the bone dance? And you take something that needs to be done and you link it to a song and a dance thing. Now, not that they want to dance and not that first responders are going to sing a song, but we know that singing something to our kids wakes up more part of the brain than anything else does. And dancing then takes off that physical stress of not knowing what to do, and it gives them a purpose. So I don't know, these are all creative thoughts. And I'm trying all of them with my kid. We know mindful, right? So what is mindful? We adults, we walk around with our heads filled with yesterday, tomorrow, supper, taxes. What did she mean by that? Just filled with stuff. And our kids, neurodiverse, neurotypical, will more often kind of like, hey, whatever, kind of la la land maybe, or just in the moment. So if we're tying in sensory integration and training and all of the body somatic stuff, and with the educational things and the social emotional, so we're talking about thoughts and feelings and sensations and surroundings and extenuating circumstances, and it's outside of the kid's own little tiny world, right? So we don't want judgment. And we want them to be in the present moment, and we want them to stay as aware as possible, but not fearful. So that's a really delicate balance with that. We know here's some clicks for research on the power of conversation, the power of sharing and joint attention. I'm preaching to the choir, I get that. So here's some examples that may be useful. When we go grocery shopping, I give him a job. And part of that is you go to the store, go and find one or two things that you want, and then you find me wherever I am in the store, put them in the cart, and we'll check out together. Or I may say, I'm going to go get 3 things, you get 1 thing, I'll meet you up front. Whatever it takes for them to learn how to, because this can generalize. If they walk into a place that they're somewhat familiar with, they know what they need to do, they get it done, lots of variation, lots of unknown things, unknown faces, but they can get their job done, and they remember and they go and they complete that. So it's muscle memory, right? So if your kid's home alone, we practice home alone all the time. He wants that. He practices calling in pizza. Kids hate to use the phone to call. That's just like the worst thing ever. The kids love the text, but to dial a number, it's terrifying, and order a pizza, right? So I make him practice. If he had to call 911, we don't actually do it, but we'll practice. What would you say? Could your kid make a 911 phone call? and do it appropriately. So how about the lanyard or not, right? Not sure about that. Do they know that home address? Do they know that phone number, even if they're under stress? We practice putting that in at the grocery store. I practice every time someone wants to know my phone number, I turn to him and I let him answer it in as many variety of circumstances as possible to generalize that. Okay. If we have to meet in a safe place out in the community, we're parting ways. I say, okay, John, where are we meeting next? Because I did this wrong one time going into Kroger, and it was a cold days, no shoes. He didn't bring his shoes that day. We had gone to karate, so he was wearing some of his karate clothes, a big coat, bare from the leg down with his backpack, doesn't want to go in the grocery store with me. I say, okay, you wait right here and I'm going to go in and I'll come back out and we'll go back to the car. I can't leave you in the car by yourself. That's not good parenting. I come out with my groceries and there's both store managers out there with John. John's got a chicken salad sandwich, a bag of chips, a bag of popcorn, a glass of water, slippers, and something else. They thought he was homeless because they asked him. And I came out and I said, what's going on? And they said, well, oh, you're his mother. We thought he was homeless. And I said, I can pay for the chicken sandwich. You know, I said, John, didn't you tell them your mother was in there grocery shopping and I was going to come right out? And he said, I did. I said, next time, say it louder. I don't think they heard you. So it was, and then I took their picture together. It was a sweet story, but I mean, they thought he was homeless. So we got to practice. He's been lost with the cops on biking and I had to call 911 twice. And I just hate that. So we're kind of known, I guess, but it's a variety of circumstances where he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Does he know what to do? Right? Okay, moving on. So here's just more examples. Can he get in the house? If I get caught in traffic and he comes home on the bus, can he unlock the house and get in and do his stuff? Will he cheat or will he do his work? That's less important. I just want to know he's not wandering around out there. So how does your kid get in and out of the house if you're caught in traffic or just late? How do they navigate that? How do they stand up for themselves when they don't have a keeper with them, right? So we practice those sentences. We practice the grocery store cart situation. Home Alone, he's a big fan of that. We watched the movie. Well, Biff isn't, I mean, Buzz is not a good thing. John pulls the Buzz languages out, right? That's fine if he wants to be Kevin, but Kevin and Buzz together are like this. So I keep telling him, Buzz is not the one you want to match, okay? If you need to do Kevin, okay, but not Buzz. When he practiced coming home on the bus by himself, navigating that, I backward chained him. I got busted by my neighbor because she thought I was a predator in the bushes. He didn't see me, but I would just kind of keep staying ahead of him, hiding in the bushes. But now he walks home all by himself on the bus. He can get there all by himself. And it's quite a ways. It's that red map there that you see. That's an aerial shot. So do you do that with your kids? And then if I call him from the road, will he answer the phone? Will yours? Okay. Co-driving, right? Will he pay attention to the lights? Does he know what that means? Can he navigate? Help me with, that's the Garmin, but if we have the phone, I give him a job, right? I want him to know street signs. Do we turn left or turn right? There's a bicycle. What about that? You see that cat? So all of these unexpected occurrences, right? At the same time, we're supposed to always put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. So that's not as important really, but just remember that's a universal truth, right? That you want to take care of yourself first and then help him. But I think right now I'd like to stop just for a second and see if there's questions. I know I've thrown a lot of scenarios at you.
No, people are just very happy for the information. They definitely want a recording. They want PowerPoint slides. So no, I think we're up to date on questions. Christina, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, because I got 2 more minutes. I'll keep going then and we can do questions at the end.
Okay.
I wanted to share this model with you all because I think it helps us to understand all the parts that go into our kids. So we've got the whole machine, the body, the movement-based learning, the methylation, the immune system, the dietary, the sensory integration. That's this piece on top. Then we want to do all that we can in their periphery to help them with their self-directed learning. And it doesn't have to be merely academic, self-directed in every kind of learning, right? So they feel empowered. And then we want to factor in the behavior. So the frog, thinking about the frog, that's metacognition. Cognition, I'm thinking about my thinking. So that's a fancy teacher word that says our kids can self-regulate, self-control, look at a situation, read the social vibes. What should I be doing? No other kids up on their desk. Why am I up on my desk, right? The school system calls it PBIS in the old days. They've got better names for it now. We also want to involve our kids' intrinsic motivation for them to do this when we're not looking because they feel good about themselves. They do it because they want to, right? And then everything about social and emotional learning, to generalize something simple that you taught them, but they can then figure out, okay, this works in Walmart. Oh, it also works in Target. Oh, it works at church or in the synagogue. Oh, it works if I go to grandma's for Christmas or Kwanzaa or any of those things, for them to realize it's a big world, big world. Okay, so let's finish with this and then we'll open up to any of your questions. There's more we could talk about. I tried to go not too fast. I really believe that your neural pathways are plastic, and I really believe your kids can do this better than you think they can. You know who's standing in their way? We parents. We parents who overprotect and over worry, and if I overclock on my kid, you know, poor little John, it's never going to help him out. So the best thing I can do for my kid, and I post about this all the time, I remove the audience. All right. And I'm pointing the finger at me more than I ever would at anybody else. Remove the audience and let them feel some of these consequences. I highlighted them in yellow because these are the happy ones. Our kids can grow into confidence and pride and feeling joy and being able to handle risk taking. They want to grow up. They are neurally wired. They are primarily brain wired to want independence. And one of the reasons they become so frustrated as an adult, as a growing adult, is because this doesn't happen. They don't get that sense of empowerment. And you know who they are going to resent? You know who they resent, right? So we want them to feel like they belong in their own village of choice. We want them to feel self-respect. We want them to know that they can self-regulate, to have the confidence that they could go do something and they're going to manage. What kind of a gift is that to give to your kid forever? To have that resilience. And resilience is something you help them grow themselves. You don't give it to them. You validate them. You confirm them. You tell them you believe in them. I say that to my kids all the time. I believe in you forever. You help them grow their own resilience so they can bounce back if something bad happens. They can have the poise to stand there and say, hey, everything's cool. No worries. I'm just lost. Whatever it is that they need to say, smile in their face. I'm no threat. For them to have the self-esteem to be able to do that and not feel shame of any kind, right? For them to navigate natural and navigate unintended consequences. That's what we want. These are just commercials here. A website, the podcast, all that stuff. I put it on the website so my hair's not so much on fire. I'm in teams with a lot of you guys.
Yes.
I will just leave it here to say that this is growing in its importance. And we're all talking about this, and our kids are getting older, and there's still happy places in the world, but it's
You have to be careful.
You have to be careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you could go back to stop sharing your screen, that would be
Yes.
great.
I am.
So a couple of things that I want to mention. First off, Gayle, thank you. That was really wonderful. And I think it brought to light so much of what we need to be reminded of. Or if we're not doing it yet, we better get on the wagon now and start doing it.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Just say, hey, today is the most important day of our learning. Today we start.
Exactly. You know what?
One little
We're
thing
all
each
learning
day.
every day. Every day. To the person who signed in as William Gray, I private messaged you. If you wouldn't mind just letting me know the name that you registered with, I would appreciate it. Gayle, I want to thank you so much. That was really great. We had a few comments. People do want the PowerPoint slides. So if you could please send them to me, I will forward them on to everyone. If you don't want them, just let me know. Otherwise, I will do that. There is a survey if you have to leave, because I know it's 12:54. Please make sure that you that you complete the survey. It's how we at Family to Family learn and how we grow. And I thought this was just terrific. I'm really, really grateful that you presented on this. Parents wrote in, and you can now see in the chat box, you know, I think we're all kind of protective. You know, it's a crazy world out there. It's really, really crazy. Kathy did ask, so I am assuming, like for my loved one, just repetitive teaching and in the moment teaching moments, she needs to rethink. I think we all need to, Kathy, believe me. She also asked, do you feel that without a neurotypical brain or a developmentally delayed, that they have the same desires?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Are they dead?
Nope.
No, I mean, I don't think that. I mean, but some of those things that you were talking about in the consequences situation, my son literally lives on the island of Sodor. He does not live in this world. And so, you know, I don't really, other than, oh my gosh, a car's coming, I don't see some of those things in him. But if they're there, I don't have a problem in pulling them out. But, you know, I mean, it was just, he's so cognitively delayed that I just wonder sometimes, does he think like, does he have those processing things the way that we do?
Does he have language, Kathy?
Yeah, he has language, but comprehension is not necessarily, I always say words don't mean communication, because he has a lot of words, but very challenging in accurate communication. Appropriate communication, yes. Accurate communication is a whole different ballgame.
So maybe you play the emergency game on the island of Zofo or whatever your island is, right?
Okay.
And you say, okay, let's play this. Make me an avatar and you an avatar, and then we'll make somebody else an avatar, and they play some version of this in the game.
Well, and he does. I mean, almost everything in life, and it's the island of Sodor, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Okay.
Almost everything in life has some connection to Thomas, a train, the island, something gets connected back to there, even people. So,
I'm saying, what if Thomas had an emergency?
Mm-hmm.
Thomas is in deep caca. What's he going to do?
Okay.
You know?
And, you know, yeah, like that, I do have to associate a lot of stuff with that in order to teach him. I found that curious that you feel that strongly about it. And I'm not saying, you know, I was like, well, you know, maybe it's there and I'm just not aware of it, you know?
So if he has language, that's great. All these ideas are, y'all, is just to start conversations with your kids. You know, just because it's on a piece of paper doesn't mean that it's going to be truly exactly what you need. But if you can start a little bit, teachable moments or a little bite a day, right? Mm-hmm. And get that in long-term memory by Paquito, 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 Paquito. And then they will grow those neural pathways and they own them. We want our kids to own, hey, Evelyn, we want our kids to own their own version of this. That's all that really matters. And how do they interpret it? And what do they want? And how are they as happy as can be, and as peaceful and as joyful with their life, and find their purpose as best it can be?
Someone else brought up a really good point, and this is so near and dear to me as well. How do you teach your loved one to differentiate between a real police officer and someone dressed up as a police officer in costume? That is one of my biggest fears in life. I couldn't agree with you more. Huge, huge problem.
So what would we say? We would say, may I see your badge?
But those can look, you can get that on Amazon, I bet.
What I mean, yeah. And so I noticed the question too. It's so maybe we want to say safe person. So here's an example. Where do we teach our kids to play with their privates? We don't say the room and the bathroom, because that bathroom generalizes to public bathrooms. So maybe what we say is a safe person. Maybe it doesn't matter what they wear. Maybe it's just what they say or how they act.
And what they ask you to do.
Do you feel safe with this person, right? So John, do you feel safe with this person? Because our kids are very intuitive, right? If they don't feel safe and the guy's wearing a uniform and it's fake or not fake, then maybe they should use their own intuition. So let's talk about how a safe person feels to you, what they say, how they behave, because that's how your sins will find you out, right? You could be a predator and you're going to say predator things. So if it's a Halloween costume that you're wearing, then so maybe that's the conversation. I guess I would say that in talking to, remember we used to say, what does a safe person look like? A mom with a stroller, right? Not too many axe murderers who are moms with kids in strollers. So, or someone who is kind and like these two Kroger's managers, right? They were doing something to help him. They didn't take him any place. They brought help to him.
Yeah,
He
and
ended
I
up with
think that's really
slippers.
important too, is the person, not so much that they're wearing the police uniform, but what are they asking you to do? A
Right.
police officer who truly is a police officer wouldn't ask you to just take off your clothes.
Mm-mm. No. Or to get in the car unless we've talked first. I think they're really starting to realize they're not trying to jam. That's what happened with this poor, with the taser kid, this poor situation. They were trying to shove them in a car and they were scared to death. So
Mhm.
if they're trying to shove our kids in a car, we know how that's going to go down, don't we?
Mhm.
Would I get in a strange car like that? Well, that's how you die, right? So I think they're learning to not do that. Most of the officers that come to with our first responder groups, they're really aware. They know it. Now it's the ones that don't come. I mean, the ones that, it's the bad apples, and I don't mean bad apples, but I mean bad apples, right? It's the bad choices that there's not everybody's doing the right thing. And so maybe that's a teachable thing. John, sometimes they will make good choices as police officers, and sometimes they will make bad choices. They might be afraid. So let's talk about what it would look like if they made good choices to you, and then you need to listen. You need to help. So if we just let our kids know, all right, they might be making, as the authority figure, they may be making bad choices. Teachers make bad choices. I make bad choices. So how can we help our kids have a sentence to come back to that? May I make my phone call? If you're scared and they're asking you to do something and you're not sure what it is, may I make my phone call? That's going to make them think, oh shit, this kid knows to make a phone call, right? Can I call my attorney? That'll make them think, right? May I please see your badge? These are just ideas, right? Because we ask our kids, what would you think? And if they own it, if they can own their answer, aha, now you've really got them thinking. This is what you want. You want them coming up with their own answers. And then you talk about it. They're smarter than we think, y'all. They absorb everything.
Yeah, that I know. Very true. Very true.
And when we show them our respect by asking them to engage, to what do you think? And tell me, what does this mean to you? It really can open up a big conversation thing with them and how they feel about themselves, and their self-esteem is like, wow, mom's asking me what I think. This is great. They're not just telling me what to do. I got power here. I feel good about myself.
Me and my son do that. He comes up to me and he says, what do you feel? How does this make you think? Or what, he'll ask me something and I'll answer him. And then I'll turn around and say, how does it make you feel? What do you think about it? What does it mean to you?
Yeah.
And this is just something he started doing in the past, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. So it's been interesting because I never know when he's going to ask or what he's going to ask about.
But that's a neurotypical thing. And doesn't that make you feel wonderful?
It does. It does. Yes, it does.
And hopeful?
Hopeful is the big thing.
Yeah.
How it makes me feel in the moment is not as important as the hope it gives me.
That's right.
Yes.
And then we go back and we say, oh, I am so impressed. Are you impressed with yourself that you asked such an intelligent question? What an important question to ask. We don't want to tell them we're proud of themselves. We want them to tell themselves that they are proud of themselves, right? So we want to make sure we got that verbiage down is, wow, do you realize what you just asked, how mature that is? And we give them some glory. And then it's like Pavlov's dog, right? Oh, I want to do that one again. So they'll do it again. We're training them toward the light, toward the force, toward their hope, toward their empowerment. We really want them thinking outside their own head, right? Our kids are just like this. I mean, and even my self-indulgent exchange student is driving me nuts. She's just self-absorbed. But if we could get our kids to think, oh, wow, look at the world. Let me walk in their shoes. What can I do to help? Wow, they're on their way toward community. they're on their way toward a real life, y'all.
I want to thank everyone again for joining us. We have posted the survey link in the chat box, along with 2 weeks from today, Shamika Allen will be joining us, and she is an educational consultant, and she's going to discuss strength-based IEPs, which is really, really important for our population. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Gayle, I can't thank you enough for joining us. This was really great. It was really a wonderful reminder for me as well. It's that balance between letting your kid grow. I mean, mine's 26. He's not a kid. He's actually an adult.
Yeah.
And still making sure that they're safe, but not to the point where they don't grow. Yeah. And it's just finding that balance. So we're all doing, I think, the best that we can. Any last minute questions from anyone?
Just grant yourself peace that it's a slippery slope.
Yes.
Just correct and keep moving on.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the day.
Gayle, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.